Hello everyone and welcome back to another Babbling Irons video, and we're getting closer, Sloth. We're getting closer to the transfer window and it's already started. The rumours are back, the links are back. A tweet came out after X was on his podcast saying that we've got a very strong interest in AKOR Adams of Montpellier. Obviously Nigerian striker, 23 years old, 6'2", 6'3", around there. He's a unit and he's scoring goals. You know, he's scored 7 goals already this season in 11 matches. I think he averages like 80 minutes per game as well, so he's not really playing the full 90. Talk to me about this guy, because striker position, we've said it for so long now. This is crucial that we get this right because Antonio's drifting out. We're trying to play Bowen striker. We don't really have that out-and-out number 9 because Danny Ings can't play the system. Talk to me about AKOR Adams. Is he, A, going to suit the system of Moyes, and B, what do you think he would bring to this West Ham team?
So he would be a fantastic acquisition. I was kind of chatting on Twitter about, possible forwards who'd really suit our system. And the only reason I didn't include him in the conversation is because Montpellier actually only just signed him in the summer window. So it would be quite a quick turnaround from them. Obviously, Montpellier signed him to replace the electric and rather handsy El Yassouahi.
They got him quite cheap as well, didn't they? For like €4.5 million or something.
Yeah, €4.5 million. And so just to put it into context, I've got my little notebook here, which I've shown Frankie the cover of. It's a Simpsons notebook. But
this is the detail you get on Babbling, okay?
Yeah.
This is the detail.
But so he moved to Norwegian side Sogndal, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, in 2018 in August, where he scored 10 in 28. He came through a Nigerian system called the Jumbo football system. So obviously at the moment, Nigeria is incredibly blessed with attacking talent.
Yeah.
One of the things that I don't think we'd have to worry about is him going to AFCON. Even though he started this season really well, you look at the types of players he's up against, players like Osimhen, Awini for one, all of these kind of great forwards. I don't really think they'd be calling him up, and that's not a disrespect to him in any way. I just think it's a bit of a stretch now.
Yeah.
The reason that Montpellier signed him was because he scored 27 goals in 47 appearances for Lillestrøm. So after his move to Sogndal, as I shall now say it, he went to Lillestrøm and he absolutely smashed it. So obviously that is what led to Montpellier spending €4.5 million. So in my opinion, for that €4.5 million, they'd be looking to get a bit of a return on it, but I don't think it'd be breaking the bank. I would kind of guesstimate that they'd maybe want around £20 million for him, because it's a quick bit of business, money in the bank, instant profit. But in terms of his playing style, West Ham fans will be very happy to hear he's very like Antonio, or Antonio a few years back. His pressing style and work rate is really something that Moyes will love. It's a combination really of rushing the opposition and closing down the passing options, the lanes that they can pass in.
I mean, we've seen the difference. That's probably why, again, Bowen's come into the team, not just because of his finishing, but his pressing. And, we've seen what Bowen can do when he leads the line. And that's exactly that, pressing from the front. And, if someone's going to come in and that can replicate that as well and is a natural striker, sounds good.
Exactly. He's also very defensively aware as well. So in terms of his tactical understanding, which I know is a bit sort of football Twittery, hype based, but I won't go into too much detail. He understands when his own side will look to trigger an attack, when they will look to counter and press, and he will do that from the front. So he's very good in picking up on those signals, recognizing perhaps when it will be a quick a chance for him to press a left back, a centre back, someone like that. But in terms of his finishing, he's very shot happy. So in terms of those metrics, in terms of his conversion rate, it's not always the highest, it's not the best, because he is quite happy to take a chance.
I mean,
But
yeah, I mean, this season he's got 26% goal conversion rate. He's scored 7 goals from expected goals of something like 5.66. So he's overperformed according to XG. So I don't think 26% goal conversion rate is actually that bad. I mean, I'd have to look at compare it with current Premier League strikers, but I don't think it's that bad. But I will double check.
it's pretty good. His finishing is good. It tends to be sort of angled towards the bottom corners. He's good with his head. He's good with his feet. And in terms of striking it, he tends to strike it quite low and hard. So if you've seen any of his goals for Montpellier this season, what Montpellier will tend to do is try and play it into the channels, or they will try and play it over vertically to him so he can use his size and his frame. One of the things that Frankie and I were just discussing is his aerial prowess.
Yeah.
And obviously, being a 6'3" player, he's incredibly tall, but he is incredibly effective in the air. And his work rate, as I just mentioned, is something that you could say it's one of his drawbacks at times, because he tends to get a bit distracted by just having a duel with a centre back or a defender. But a little stat from last season was that he had a success rate of 53.66% in the air with his aerial duels. Now, to put it into context, Haaland had a success rate of 50% and Antonio's was 36. So it's a massive difference. I know there's a comparison in the league, and particularly in the sort of Norwegian leagues, you can question the quality of the defenders he's up against, but that's the sort of tenacity we're looking at.
If he's such, I mean, we don't really have many other players to compare him to other than, recently that comes to mind, that the kind of tall strikers, Skamaka, Haller, and if you really want to stretch it that far back, Arnautovic was kind of molded into that player, and he was tall as well. I think he was 6'4". So how does he compare to that kind of pool of player? Because Haller didn't work because of the play style. Skamaka didn't work because of the play style. Arnautovic did work because of the play style. Is he more similar to an Arnautovic than he is, say, a Haller or a Skamaka, in your opinion?
I'd say he's a lot harder. He's a lot harder working consistently than Arnautovic, because there's not so much some of the attitude issues that there were with Arnautovic.
What about from like a playing style point of view? Is he someone that's Arnautovic had very quick feet for how tall he was. He had blistering pace off the mark. He'd run the channels, both feet. Wasn't the best in the air. How does he kind of compare to that?
He is quick. Like he is very quick. I wouldn't say he's quite as he's not Jeremy Doku. He's not quite that blisteringly quick, but he will comfortably beat a man who will beat most defenders. But it's the combination of that with the physicality that is huge. Yeah. And in terms of with his feet as well, he is very good on the ball. We mentioned his finishing and him being quite happy to take on shots. That would be a real benefit for us, particularly when you've got players like Kudus and Bowen potentially chasing up, following into the area. It's something that he does create a lot of chances, and I know that he hasn't got an assist this year, but his combativeness in the air and the way that he presses, it will lead to assists. It will create chances for the side. So he does have a lot of that Antonio mold.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think what we saw with Antonio was, like you mentioned, when he got that 10 goals, 10 assists in that season, that was the best Antonio we've seen when he was playing striker. And, it was happening for him inside the box, but it was also happening from him outside the box with his play with, the likes of Bowen, Lingard when he was playing off of him, Ben Rama when he was there, Fornals. So it seems like it could potentially be bringing in a striker that can do that side as well, and also offers a bit more aerially. We've brought in someone like Ward-Prowse. We've seen how good we are at set pieces. It just takes that to the next level if we have him striker. And like you mentioned, with the work rate, but also from my point of view, it looks like he's technically good enough to play there, and he's technically good enough to work in that system we want, because, from his goals this season, I think he's got one headed goal. The other 6 are split between his left foot and his right foot. I think he's got 3 on each foot. So he can, shoot with both feet. He is pretty versatile with how he plays. So with that kind of considered, and I know we touched on it a little bit at the start where he's, we said he came for 4.5 million to Montpellier just this summer. So if it's going to be a January transfer move from us, which I likely think it would be, if we're going to bring in a striker, it's likely to be in January because it's desperation at the moment. Who would we? How much would we looking to pay for him? Because we don't want to overpay for a player that's only just gone for 4.5 million. But if we went there for 20 million euros, for example, can they really turn that down?
I mean, they can turn it down easily. That Montpellier are a very smart club, and they will know that they can probably wait till the end of the season and get a similar figure. However, there's so many strikers out there who will suit their system. They could easily take in 20 million euros and potentially go to someone like Genk and put down that amount of money for someone like Gift Orban. And it would just be a case of making sure that we get in early, and I don't want to say turn the player's head, but we could definitely do that. Yeah. And I think price-wise, maybe 16 million, 20 million pounds, I think would be a bargain for the way we play, the way that he would suit our system. I think that is the key thing. It's players like Adams, Girassi, who also has a similar sort of price release clause. They would be ideal for us, and I think it would be a bargain.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think we need something. And if, this is what's being scouted, it looks very promising for what's coming up. So is there any final points on AKOR Adams before we kind of wrap up? Because, it does look like an interesting deal. It does look like something we probably could get over the line in January if we were willing to pay enough funds for him. So what is your kind of final comments on him, or anything maybe we haven't touched on so far?
I think if you're looking at in terms of his average sort of stay on the pitch is about 80 minutes. And that is because he works incredibly hard. He presses high. He is intense with the pressing, and he's very quick as well. So even from a fan point of view, if you're thinking you've got 80 minutes of hard pressing and then you're throwing on Mikel Antonio if he's still here, that is an incredibly scary prospect for a defender. And I think he suits us so well. There are a lot of strikers who suit us well. I've been quite vocal about that, but this is a player who I think could really do well for us. He had a little spell of injury kind of when he moved to Scandinavia, but he's been relatively injury free over the past couple of seasons. And I think for what he is, the system we play, it's a fantastic one.
Well, there you have it, folks. Sloth has delivered the knowledge today on AKOR Adams. Hopefully that was good insight into the type of player that we are looking to scout, and maybe a potential move in January transfer window. So yeah, let us know in the comments what you think. Would this be a move that excites you? Do you think it's enough in January to go for this type of move, or would you like to see that Prem-proven model that we saw last year with Danny Ings coming into the club? I'm going to guess not many people want to see that. So yeah, let us know in the comments. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. And Sloth, until next time.
Come on, you irons.